So I'm going to just go over how to do some effective research for production arts. And one of the things that people are struggling, or telling me they're struggling, is what to write about an artist or another makeup artist or photographer. And when I've told you to research a certain person, or when you're researching somebody you like yourself. One thing I always do when I'm starting out research is I just obsessively read as much as what I can about them. So researching is finding out things through either books, the internet, going to visit, and we have different types. We call it primary and secondary research. So, if possible, say if there was a photographer that I love, and there is, let's have a look. A few years ago, I went to see David LaChapelle. I went to see him in Paris, and I've always found David LaChapelle to be a massive influence on my work as a photographer. And I went to see his exhibition in Paris a few years ago. Now, the act of me going and seeing it for myself and reading pamphlets there and speaking to other people about his work there would be classed as what we call primary research. Anything else that you do on the internet about going to look at other people's books of him would be secondary research. Now, at this stage, I think some of the makeup artists that I've asked you to research are actually, I don't think any of them have exhibitions near here, so it'd be very difficult for me to expect you to do primary research, at this stage on the MUAs that we've chosen. But that doesn't mean that you can't write to them or email them, which we've got some of our Year 13s doing. So the one you've been asked to select for, and maybe the one you've chosen is a local makeup artist, one that you can get in touch with, and that would be classed as primary research. So yeah, the first thing is sort of sponge up everything that you can about them. So for instance, make sure that you go to their website and read up everything about them. So here we are. Now we know now that he works with his wife Veronica Ashova, and he's the actual photographer. Now it's sort of a combination. These artwork pieces are a combination of very good photography and excellent makeup artistry. So you sort of a combination of both. Um, so I would read up everything there is online that you can find about them. Here's what they've put up about themselves. And all the videos, apparently one of them went viral, the Marge video went viral. And, I would expect you to have all watched all of these videos at this point. You can see the palettes that they're using, you can see the type of paint she's using, you can see her in action here. So when people say I don't really know what to say, what to sort of, you talk about what's distinctive about their style, what materials have been used. You find that through researching and watching the videos. You can see that they're using a water activated palette. I don't know the brand because I've watched the videos myself. I don't know the brand that they're using, but I do know that it's definitely a water activated one, which you guys are using with the UK based Snazaroo ones. Any technique in particular being used? Yeah, technique is very, very distinctive. It's that they uses the face as a 2D canvas. So the face is very bumpy. Like I say all the time, we've got a bumpy canvas, but their style that they're working towards is that you view it as something that's 2D, which is really, really hard to achieve, as you've all experienced with the square task that I gave you. Has anybody else tried it? Well, that's it, as you'll find for a lot of artists, that styles and distinctive styles especially are really copied. So if we look at the 2D style especially, I've already brought it up, the 2D comic style was originally by him and her and copied by a lot of people. So it sort of, there was a boom in it. I remember a few years ago as well, at the very time that I was in Paris, a lot of people were trying it, and it was sort of new at the time. We'd not seen it before, and then all of a sudden there was a lot of people trying this style. So it has influenced quite a lot of people, and you get all sorts of it. You get the ones where you've got the dots, you get ones where it's superheroes and comic books, and there are a lot of styles that you can try. They all emulate, and they all sort of come from. I should have put this question in, but where has this come from? And it's actually if we go to the one what I've told you to try, it's from The Crying Girl. Now, so the one that you focused on, the practice one where I said I wanted to do the comic book, actually all deviates from The Crying Girl by Roy Lichtenstein. So here's something else to research. You know, stick this in your research that, right, we're going to try this today, we're going to try the 2D art, but it actually comes from here. This is where it originates from. So a little bit about this time as well, and the influence here you could stick in your research. Okay, what skill level would you say this took? I would say it's sort of a very difficult level to try. You've all tried that square. Some of you could get it straight away, some of you are really struggling. Any applique. I just class applique as sort of diamantes, eyelashes, false contact lenses, anything that's additional, that's added onto the face that's not there apart from makeup. So points of discussion, I have put these points of discussion in, and I've only got, unfortunately, it's in Hungarian for one of my other students. I don't have the English version, I translated it for her. But keywords on these sheets that I gave you, we'll think about the English one. Keywords are things like highlighting, colours, tone, contrast, eye shapes. So things like that, what makes it work as airbrushing being used. Use these keywords here to write about things. They'll prompt sort of things out of you to discuss. So keywords for me would be that it's bold. I mean, it's very, very bold, using colours. There's a lot of lines, and they have to be sharp. That's sort of the key thing, is that they're 2D and they're very sharp. Now, a very interesting point was, has any editing photoshopping been used? And I didn't realise that they had used Photoshop, and this is sort of a point that I do want to discuss more in detail about photoshopping and use of, it's called Beauty Box in editing. So if you were to make videos and vlogs, then you can actually get a editing program, or what we call a plugin, to go over your video and beautify your skin. Now, there's arguments within the makeup world that you shouldn't rely on that, but I can tell you that probably 90% of the images that you are researching and finding on Google are photoshopped. Some people think it's cheating, some people don't think it is. How do we know that these guys are photoshopping? I took a picture or a screenshot of the picture before it was photographed, and then there we've got the after. If you can see the difference in lines. So if you're looking at your piece now, and if I've got some of your images here, Lydia's is quite a good one to use. We bring this in Photoshop. We can edit, sorry, I'm just going to get it up. We can edit the lines around here. I can move the key so it's just on point, and we can darken it so our skin's dark. So you can use the editing technique on your pieces of work for this. I think that's fine, that's their style, you're copying that. In general, it's not great to rely on Photoshop. I don't allow photography students to rely on Photoshop. I don't think it's good practice for makeup artists to rely on it, but if we're just making work, tweaking it for our portfolio, then fair enough, yeah. Again here, Jenna pointed out, which was well done, Jenna, the word dots added in digitally, and you can see on the there. So watching the video, you can see that the dots aren't added in, and we've got Marge Simpson before and after editing as well. So yeah, I think you know, yeah, we can use editing. I'm happy with that. The artists have done that, but be careful to not rely too much on Photoshop. You do want to practice your skills and get better. So Photoshop is something that's used as a minimal. Now, annotating your work afterwards. I think you should always be pushing and looking at your work and evaluating how you could do better. What you've done well is great. It's, you know, sometimes you have a piece of work and you think that's amazing, and then a few years down the line you look at it and think, oh my god, I could have done, you know, I could have done better here, I could have done better that. Annotating we make you evaluate your work for a reason, and it's because constantly evaluating yourself will push yourself to become a better makeup artist or photographer or artist. So, for instance, I've just got this as a great example of if we look at this artist here, they have considered some of the things that weren't considered by some of you in the shoot that we did last week. So, for instance, she's got a wig, she's got a hat. Now, I know one person did, Charlotte, you did consider the dress, and you wore a stripy top, which I thought was fantastic because you considered that, and so it shows that you're already sort of starting to understand that when you are shooting a piece, you have to consider all aspects. Now, if you turned up and did this and panded this in this work, I would say it was absolutely fabulous, but what about the background? So she's not studio shooting. Whoever this model is not being shot against a studio, so it could even be pushed higher. But I think you need to always push yourself and think, what can I always improve? You know, if you've done an absolutely amazing piece of work, yeah, it's great to sort of think, oh, it's amazing, but always try and think, what could I do better? So I hope that just helps you evaluate and other people's work, and helps you to sort of think, what can I research next time, because it basically researches you soaking up and searching for every scrap of information that will help you improve. Otherwise it's a pointless task. Any questions, let me know. I hope this video helps.